Okay, so for the purposes of doing a ride, you're going to do a ride this Tuesday because the weather is going to be nice, right? And you want to recruit people to do it. So you go to the club website, you sign in, you click on the calendar, you bring up the calendar. Up here, we go to click on the three little dots, which gives us a menu. And what you want to do is add a quick event, which brings up a screen with a lot of stuff on it. But this is going to become your ride announcement that everybody will see on the calendar. What I want to focus on here for a minute is the nomenclature for the title that you give your ride. Don't just say ride on the mall. Okay, you've got to put in some more information for people to see. And what we start off with, you can either start off with the area, Maryland, Virginia, or DC, which we've been encouraging people to do. But I took a moment to look at the ride leader guidelines, which are also on the website, and they're pretty accurate. There are a couple little glitches. But what that says is to start off with the ride class. So I'm going to enter a ride. I am looking for the cursor. There it is. Okay. Okay. When I'm not riding an e-bike, I am a CC rider. So I put the ride class in there first. So when people look, they know, okay, this is going to be approximately a 12 to 14 mile an hour pace, right? It's going to be a moderately hilly ride. You don't have to put that in, but that's an option. And we usually separate the components of this title for the ride with a little asterisk because it just makes it easier. Okay, my ride's going to be in Maryland. And again, I have misplaced the tiny little cursor. Oh, thanks. There we go. Okay, ride's going to be in Maryland. It's going to be 35 miles. So put in the distance. I'm going to start the ride at 10 o'clock in the morning. Should be pretty nice then. And I'm going to start it from the Layton's Village Shopping Center. So back in the day when we published the paper pedal patter, we used to use the three-letter abbreviations, but we've been spelling things out these days. I got it. So I'm just going to type Laytonsville for now. And the title of the ride is Old Loop or something, okay? I mean, I'm just making this up. But this is the information that's going to appear as the distilled elements of information on the ride calendar. So when people go and look at the ride calendar, they'll get essentially every bit of information they need to sort of make a decision about whether or not they want to look into this ride further. So, and then you can type in a ride description. This is the ride description. You know, you've got up to 2,000 characters to do that. Here, for whatever reason, Club Express makes us select something. So the only thing that makes any sense when you're posting a ride is you select rides. What we encourage people to do for visibility is visible to everyone. So people, you know, who are new to the club, they want to look at the calendar. They could see that there are a bunch of rides, but details for members only. We don't have a mobile channel, or I don't. So this is up to you whether you want to show your email to.
For the event's contact, the contact.
Oh, yes.
Which you can change.
Yeah, you can change the event contact, but if you change the event contact, you have turned over control of this ride posting to that individual, unless you have admin privileges. But you could, like if Steven said to me, hey, Carol, could you post this ride for me? I'm out of town or whatever, that I could do that and I could post it and I could then select, I could go to the directory and select the name of the person who's really going to be the ride leader. Okay, show the email, everyone or members only. I usually choose members only. Also for my phone number when I'm posting a ride. I only have a cell phone these days. Notify on registration is your option. If you want to get an email every time somebody signs up for the ride, you can click that box. If not, leave it empty. The event day and time pulls up a calendar. This is going to be a ride for Tuesday. We're going to start it at 10 o'clock. Again, the website sort of makes you put in an ending time, which is not usually important to put in. Okay, registration. Registration is required, period, end of discussion, because part of registration includes signing off on the waiver. So it's not optional. Have people check when you're posting a ride, always select that it's required. Most people say, yeah, you can cancel out if you want. You can give a time for canceling out. You know, I'm going to say, let me know by 9:30 if you're canceling out. Registrant type. It doesn't really matter substantially whether you choose everyone or active members because people can sign up for a guest membership. But usually you want to select active members. We can display the registration list of registrants. Do you want to show that to people who are members of the club only or people who have registered for the ride only? I usually just pick that option. There's a selection here for number of guests. It defaults to 0, but you can change that. During COVID, under capacity here, we were setting limits on the number of people to attend a ride, but we don't really, most people don't do that anymore, so I leave that default at no. Enable quick release, the answer to that is yes. People can now have an app for Club Express on their phone, which would enable you to do the quick release, boom, you know, like on your phone. If you forgot to sign up for the ride in advance, but you show up for the ride, you can pull it up on your phone. You can take care of everything. You can sign the quick release and everything's good. Location. Here we have the opportunity to put in the location and the address is the starting point. So, and I just screwed this up yet again. So, because I always do that. Laytonsville Shopping Center. I don't have the address memorized. You would think I would, but I don't. And I'm not going to be picky about my typing here. And then, you know, the usual drop down for the state, which is so annoying. I'd really like to just be able to type in MD. And I don't care about the zip code. You can click this, it'll show a map link for your location. You don't, you know, unless you have a particular reason to add in the website, like if you were going to start from a brewery, for example, and you wanted people to have information readily available for your starting location, you can enter their website in there. Here is the secret sauce, video conferencing. We don't video conference on our rides, right? Usually. But video conferencing is where you put in that link that you copied from Ride with GPS, where you said share and it said copy link. This is where you put that link in. And that will then make the link clickable, hot link in the ride listing. Important, when you get down to the bottom of this page with all this fine print and all these details, save it. It will show you that the quick event is saved. Click OK. And then you can go back and review what you've done. And then, this is the information that you'll see when you go back and pull it up on the calendar. So you've posted this ride. Maybe people have signed up for the ride or they want to. So as you probably know, you would click register now if you want to sign up for the ride. So I'm going to register for the ride. You should register for your own ride, by the way. And I don't know why that isn't. Because when you register for your own ride, you're signing the waiver. So you need to do that. There we go. Sign up yourself or sign up another member. This myself is actually going to be Stephen. So I'm going to sign him up for this ride. And then you scroll down. Here's the waiver. Stephen has to sign this somehow. Yeah, okay. You have to agree to the terms of the waiver and then do the sign thing, save. Okay. That is legally binding, apparently. Well, it amazes me the number of places like doctor's offices and stuff that, you get away with that. Okay, and then down here at the very bottom, after you've signed the waiver, next, and then complete your registration. All right, I went through this basically because I wanted to show you how to find out who signed up for your ride. Who signed up for my ride? It's this little, which we went through like crazy when Club Express changed it. So here it is. It's the heads, right? So we see that Stephen Mink signed up for this ride. If you want to edit your ride, if you review it and you go, oh, I want to change something in the description, there's a typo, I want to change the time, whatever, the pencil is the edit tool. So you can go back and that will bring up the edit tool and you could go in, edit your ride, go to the bottom, save it again. If you want to cancel your ride, so you wake up the morning of your ride and you notice that it's pouring rain and you think, maybe I should cancel my ride. And you look and you see there's like 20 people signed up for your ride, or even 5 people. It's important here. This little square, this little X, will cancel your ride and it will automatically send an email to everybody who registered for the ride that it has been canceled. You can also go in and edit it, say, I'm canceling the ride, this is crazy. You can do all that, but you're not going to be able to reach out and contact the people unless you already know their email addresses, or you go in one by one and look them up in the club directory. There may be the odd person who has not put their email address in their profile. That's a shame because you really need to do that. But this is the way you can cancel a ride. Confirm that you want to cancel it. Yes, confirm. Yeah, I really want to cancel this ride. Okay, the ride has been canceled. It'll still show up on the calendar, that it will show up with canceled spelled with one L, which kind of makes me crazy, but but they spell it with one L. That's really, I think, about the most important stuff you need to know about posting a ride. Are there any questions? Okay. All right, so this was for the 4th, and here it is. Here's the ride that I posted and canceled. Danielle, yeah. Yes. No, that's a really good point. Yeah. Okay, Stephen's going to handle that. There is using one of these icons here on the calendar listing, you can then access people's I forget which one. It's the reports or here we go. Event. So this icon, whichever one it was, this one was reports, which is the one that looks like a piece of paper with the corner folded down. Is register. You can, if you bring up reports, you can go down here to registrant and emergency contact, and that should pull up run report. Okay, well this one's blank because I canceled the ride. I should have done that beforehand, but that will pull up the information that's shown here, the registrant, their email, phone number, their emergency contact, in case, which is very important. Hopefully rides are uneventful and there aren't any emergencies, but every once in a while, there's a need to access this information. Yeah.
What kind of info should you put in the price or the description area? What should you put in the ride description?
So there was a question about what should go into the description of the ride. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule about what you should put in the ride description. I would put in information that I would want to know as a rider. You know, is there a big nasty climb in this ride? Is it hilly? Is it flat? Is there a stretch of road that has a lot of traffic on it and you need to really be careful? You know, things like that. Well, that usually is something we would expect people to say verbally at the beginning of the ride start. But so the question was whether we should put in, is it a no drop ride or whatever? Yeah. Okay. Stephen's going to speak to that. Okay, but as much information, think about what you would like to know if you're signed up for somebody's ride and you're not familiar with it. You know, what would you like to know about that ride? Back to you. Okay.
Yeah, just on that point of what should go in the description, take 5 minutes and just go through the calendar and see how different ride leaders fill that in. There's a lot of different personality styles there, but there's some essentials that if you pay attention to, try to be absolutely clear on. One is, are you running this as a drop or a no drop ride? The worst thing that can happen is that you are leading a ride, you've got new riders who are new to the club, you've advertised it as a no drop ride, which means nobody is going to be falling off the back without any accompaniment from the organizers, and the pack disappears and they're left on their own. That is dropping a rider when you advertise it as a no drop, and that's a good way to really antagonize people. So be clear what kind of ride you are going to be running, write that down, and then make sure you're organizing it so you can actually run it that way. In my own very small ride that I do, there's a co-leader, and one of us is always at the front and the other is always at the back and will always be the last rider. And that way nobody is left behind. I also find it's useful to indicate how you're going to communicate cancellations. I do a summer late day ride, and 1 out of every 5 rides, thunderstorms come in. I usually specify that I will indicate cancellation no later than and say a time. So somebody knows that they don't have to look every hour, but if they're going to have to commute to the ride, they don't want to be halfway there and find out only when they're already on their way that it's been canceled. So I usually will say I will cancel no later than 2 hours before the start of the ride. So then people know. It's also helpful if you can go a bit beyond specification of the ride class. So as Carol talked about the nomenclature, nomenclature is a C ride or a B ride is usually a range. And a 2 or 3 mile difference within a class range can make a lot of difference. And some people will be falling off the back because they're within the range, but they're at the slowest part of it. If you have done the ride before, or if you ride it in advance and you are ride with GPSing the ride, you will get the average speed that you rode that ride at. And it can be useful if in the description you state, um, I usually do this ride at an average rate of X miles per hour. And then people know before they show up what to expect. And apart from that, it might be helpful if you're going to have a lunch halfway through, or if you're going to have a meeting at the end of the ride. It can be helpful to put in the description or in the timing when you're going to end and where you're going to be, because there may be some people who can't do the ride but want to catch up with that social group at the end of the ride. And so being clear on that can help people connect with you at the end of the ride.